Hi, I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Let's get right to our top story. Donald Trump in the no-spin zone. The Republican presidential nominee joins us now by phone from Orlando. Now, Mr. Trump, I want to first ask you about this soundbite from yesterday that's been getting a ton of attention.
ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS, okay? He's the founder. He founded ISIS. And I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton.
And you doubled down on those comments in another interview earlier today. But just a few hours ago, Hillary Clinton suggested that you were just repeating Vladimir Putin's talking points.
Well, I didn't know about Putin saying anything about it, but everybody knows that, first of all, we should have never, and I've been saying from the beginning, we should have never gone into Iraq. But once we were in, we should have never left the way we left, Eric. We just left it open, and that's when ISIS really came about, big league. And now they're in 28 different countries. The president has been trying to play down ISIS like it's not that big of a deal, like they're not as powerful. We should knock them out. We should knock the hell out of them. He's not willing to do that. As far as I'm concerned, and I'll say it, and I'll say it to anybody that wants to listen, he is a founder of ISIS. They must love him, because without him, you wouldn't have the threat, the horrible situation going on around the world with ISIS.
Some people are saying maybe not the founder, but possibly he's an enabler of ISIS, where I think you might get some agreement even on the Democrat side.
Well, I'd call him a founder. Look, ISIS could have been knocked out. It could have been knocked out very swiftly. The way he got out, we shouldn't have been in Iraq, but we shouldn't have gotten out the way we got out, where he gives a date where he said this is when approximately, and then even in detail when we're leaving. Look, he has been, as a president, a disaster, bad judgment, but really bad judgment. As said by Bernie Sanders, bad judgment is Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders said she suffers from bad judgment. She certainly does. You can throw Libya into the puzzle. You can throw plenty of other things into the puzzle. The two of them have been catastrophic for our country. And he is a founder, and she's right there with him.
All right. Let's move on to another subject. We have a lot to get to. Hillary Clinton keeps saying that these email scandals are old news, yet we keep getting more and more information as, thanks to FOIA requests, more emails in this latest round tying the Clinton Foundation to her tenure at the State Department, possibly quid pro quo. Your thoughts?
Well, the email scandal is such a disaster that if it was anybody else in this country other than her, they'd be in prison a long time ago. She got rid of 33,000 emails. It's unheard of. Who ever heard of that? She talks about a wedding and a yoga class. She got rid of 33,000 emails, and whether they were deleted or clean, the server, the whole thing is corrupt. And frankly, I think anybody else other than her, look at what happened to General Petraeus. Look at what happened to so many other people for doing so much less. Anybody other than her would have been put away a long time ago.
You know, and some of these emails are coming through FOIA requests, which take an insane amount of time to get these things released, but also some hacking, some WikiLeaks, whatnot. Do you think there's an October surprise via email for Hillary Clinton?
I really don't know, but I can tell you when somebody loses 33,000, it's unbelievable. The number, the sheer magnitude, the number of emails, and to have nothing happen when something like that happens. So I have no idea. We'll find out, I guess, but I have absolutely no idea.
All right. Hillary Clinton earlier today unveiled her economic policy plan. We have a little piece of sound. Take a listen. We want you to react to it.
I'm running for president to build an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. And based on what we know from the Trump campaign, he wants America to work for him and his friends at the expense of everyone else.
Your thoughts on that? Do you want America to work for you and your friends at the expense of everyone else?
Well, it's totally false, as you understand. We're going to create jobs. We're lowering taxes. We're lowering business taxes so that businesses, instead of leaving the country and going to Mexico and every other place you can imagine, they'll stay in the United States and they'll employ more people. We have to lower taxes. Our business taxes and our taxes are the highest in the world. Now, you could say for the major industrialized countries, but most people would say, period, the highest in the world. We have among the highest taxes in the world. We're losing our companies. We're losing our jobs. People are being laid off all over the place. I go through every state. I'm all over. And I look at New York State. I look at the devastation of upstate New York and the devastation that took place in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan. Look what's going on with the car companies building these massive plants in Mexico and laying off people in Michigan. And she doesn't know. I mean, she doesn't know. You just read the Washington Post from 2 days ago, the front page story, what she was going to do for New York, upstate New York, and it's turned into be total devastation. The only one that benefited was her crony friends that made money off it. She was a disaster in terms of jobs for New York State.
You know, I read this thing, and it reads like almost like a socialist manifesto. Tax the makers, hand out to the takers. A couple of things. Free college. Expanding Obamacare to a full public option. Public option for health care. Assistance to unions. It goes on and on. How in the world is she going to pay for that? Have you looked at her plan yet?
Well, you're going to have to double up taxes. People are going to have to pay twice what they're paying right now, and we already have the highest taxes. So what she's doing, and it's going to be a terrible plan. It's going to be like Obama, where he used to say you can keep your plan, you can keep your doctor. This is going to be a terrible plan. And it's very simple. You're going to have to pay more than double the taxes you're paying right now with the kind of goodies she's throwing out. So she'll throw out goodies on the table. What she doesn't say is that your taxes are going to be doubled. I think you'll end up having nothing but heartache. Now, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. People are going to pay much less money. They're going to pay so much less. They're going to have such a better plan. It's not working. Obamacare is too expensive for people. Look at what's going on with premiums. Premiums are going up 17, 20, 25 in Texas through Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's gone up almost 50%. And by the way, Eric, in November, new numbers are going to come out on Obamacare that are going to be election-shattering numbers.
They've done nothing but go up.
Delay it till December.
Costs have done nothing but go up. Remember, bend the cost curve down. It bent the other way, boomerang the other way. Next topic I'm going to get to. There was an open letter penned by some 70 Republicans suggesting that Reince Priebus pull back funding, maybe even pull back data from your campaign. Have you talked to Reince? Are you in contact with Reince? Are you in contact with the RNC? Any truth to any of this?
Sure. Well, there's no truth, but I'm the one that's funding. I'm the one that's raising the money. And other people are getting to use the money that I raise. I'm putting up money for my own campaign. And as I did as you know, I funded my own primaries, and I'm putting up money for my own campaign, but I'm raising a lot of money for the Republican Party. And, you know, there's actually, if you think, I mean, sometimes somebody will say, well, we're not going to support Trump. They're not going to support because these are not the people I want. Look at the mess, Eric. Look at the mess our country is in by using these political hacks.
I want to get to this, though. Have you been in contact? Have you called him?
Yes, I
have.
I spoke to him. He just put out a press release, and he just put out a tweet saying it's untrue. And, I mean, if it is true, that's okay, too. Because all I'll have to do is stop funding the Republican Party. I'm the one raising the money for him. In fact, right now I'm in Orlando. I'm going to a fundraiser for the Republican Party. So if they want to do that, they can save me a lot of time and a lot of energy.
True, Donald. But one of the big things about the RNC is that they have this whole infrastructure of data and information and contacts and email lists and mailing lists and phone numbers. That is something that's important to your campaign. That's not at risk. Is that in jeopardy?
I don't know. I'll let you know on the 9th, on November 9th, meaning the 8th is your election and the 9th is when we find out whether or not that is all good. I think we're going to have tremendous voter turnout. We're going to have tremendous turnout from the evangelicals, from the miners, from the people that make our steel, from people that are getting killed by trade deals, from unemployed people that have been just decimated, from the military who are with Trump 100%, from our vets, because I'm going to take care of the vets. They haven't been able to take care of the vets. You have to see the Obama Veterans Administration is a corrupt enterprise. It's so bad. So, I mean, you'll see what happens. I don't know that we need to get out the vote. I think people that really want to vote, they're going to just get up and they're going to get out and they're going to vote for Trump. and we're going to make America great again.
All right, one more question before I let you go. I know you're on a busy schedule. A lot of people are asking on the left to see your tax returns. Want you to release those. People on the right also want to see Hillary Clinton's medical records. That's been bubbling up in the news lately. Your thoughts on both very quickly.
Well, look, I'm in a routine audit, and every lawyer tells you, including Greta, who is a lawyer, but she said, when you're under a routine audit, you don't give your tax returns. And when the audit's finished, I'd be pleased to give them. You're not going to learn. I've put in over 100 pages of documents. I built one of the greatest companies in the country. I put in over 100 pages of documents, some of the great assets of the world, and they already have that. You don't learn very much from tax returns. But when the audit's done, I've been audited now for, I think, 15 years straight, which is ridiculous because other people don't get audited. I know many rich people that never audited, but I've been audited for, I think it's 15 years straight. So we have another one, and when it's finished, we'll be glad to.
And what about Hillary's medical records? You want to see those, or you don't care?
No, I don't want to get into that. I think that would be inappropriate for me to come.
All right, we're going to leave right there, Mr. Trump. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the rundown, reaction to our interview with Donald Trump. Dana Perino will be right here, right after this. In the Impact segment tonight, reaction to our interview with Donald Trump. Joining us now, Dana Perino, my fellow co-host of The Five. Dana, welcome.
Thanks.
I really want to kind of drill into this economic plan. Talked about his economic plan.
Else?
Well, no, we can talk.
I have all these notes.
Well, we can hit your notes, but did you listen to Hillary Clinton's email plan? I mean, her econ plan?
Sure, I listened to her speech.
Amazing. I mean, was there the amount of redistribution of wealth in that speech, in that policy plan, is astounding.
And they have like stacks and stacks of her policy papers, and if you go there, it's hard. Where some people complain Donald Trump's isn't detailed enough, hers are so detailed. But I thought that it was a little bit of a wash. I mean, she gave the free college piece, I think, is the one that really is interesting to me, especially because, as I understand it, her plan would go up to $125,000 a year for families. That probably isn't helping the poorest people. And there's also a case to be made that the vocational training, that we should maybe focus on that a little bit more, which I think that's where some place that Donald Trump could focus on that would show a little bit of a difference and a willingness to be more fiscally responsible. Very
quickly, before we move on to some of the other stuff, I found it very interesting that she really honed in on TPP. I am against TPP. Remember Terry McAuliffe at the DNC saying, no, she's for TPP when she becomes president. They flip-flopped on that.
Well, and actually, there is precedent for saying that candidates will often be against trade until they're president, and then they realize that trade is actually beneficial for lots of different reasons, although there are harms, of course, but geopolitical reasons, etc. I think what she was trying to show is that to the Bernie Sanders voters, that she is not going to turn a blind eye to a lame duck TPP vote. So she will be against trade possibly until she's president.
All right, let's get to some of those notes. We have a lot of notes.
Well, here's just a couple of things. So it's a great opportunity to come on primetime television, especially cable news, for an audience that probably really likes him. But he didn't advance the ball on anything. He didn't break any news. And these are opportunities where you could use to try to wrap up the day and to drive into the next day. And I don't think that we actually learned anything new, except for his point that he says that he doesn't want to see her medical records.
That was very interesting. A lot of people have been asking about that.
Well, a lot of people, I think that both candidates in October, if they follow tradition, will release full physicals from their doctors, or, as has been suggested, there should be an independent panel of doctors that looks at those medical records and then puts out the statements. And they're probably both perfectly healthy and fine. They're both about the same age, and
he stayed with the Barack Obama, and I can't remember if he included Hillary Clinton. I think both of them were still the co-founders or founders of ISIS. Your thoughts?
Well, I feel like everything he is saying is accurate except for the founding part, and then that's the part he's sticking to the most.
I gave him
an
option.
Gave him the enabling. I wrote it down. Enabler, complacent, bad judgment. Also ignored the advice of the military, ignored the advice of the foreign policy experts, although he might not like those people either. But I think that when he got caught on the founded issue, and then the reporters come after him on that, and he digs in his heels even more. And also, he said that he was against the Iraq war at the beginning. There is a videotape or audio tape of an interview that he did at the time with CNN where he does not say that. And nobody pushes back on him in that when they do interviews with him.
They're going to maybe go. Run out of time. Heartbreak, Dana. Thank you so much. Up next, U.S. Senator who's calling for Hillary Clinton to do time in prison over her email scandal. He'll join us to explain. In the personal story segment tonight, holding Hillary Clinton to account. Senator Rand Paul has been aggressively pursuing that.
Recently, you launched a campaign to hold Hillary Clinton accountable for her crimes. How are you going to accomplish that?
We're all for it. I think an indictment would be a good idea, followed by a prison sentence.
Joining us now from Bowling Green, Kentucky, to elaborate, Senator Rand Paul. Okay, Senator, you're maybe the first, maybe the only U.S. senator who said that she should be locked up. Why do you say that?
Well, you know, I'm a big believer in equal protection under the law. You know, whether you're rich or poor, white or black, everybody should be treated the same under the law. I represent a lot of soldiers in Kentucky, Fort Campbell and Fort Knox. Every one of those soldiers knows they can't take classified information and have it on their personal computer, and they know there won't be any exceptions, that they will be prosecuted, they'll be put in the brig, they'll be stripped of their rank, and they'll be booted out of the military. And so I don't think it's fair to hold our soldiers, many of them enlisted men and women, to one standard and then say to Hillary Clinton, oh, well, she can do whatever she wanted. I think anybody else in this situation would have been prosecuted, including General Petraeus, who had a similar situation where classified information was not where it was supposed to be and other people had access to it. They didn't do anything to give him a break. He was prosecuted. And so, no, I think it's very unfair that Hillary Clinton wasn't prosecuted. And this is one among several reasons why I think that really her dishonesty should preclude her from really being considered for Commander-in-Chief.
Senator, why do you think FBI Director James Comey did not recommend her for indictment to the DOJ?
You know, interestingly, my own personal theory on this is that I think he wanted to indict her, and I think he feels guilty that he didn't. And I think that's why you got this long, detailed explanation of how dishonest she was. You know, she didn't actually lie to the FBI during the testimony, but she lied to the American people on multiple occasions. And he pointed this out in specific detail. And the FBI doesn't have to do that. So my sort of personal theory is that Comey feels a little guilty about not indicting her, so therefore he spelled out for the American people, so at least the voters can find out that she did lie many, many times to the public about whether or not she had classified email out there. You know, one of the classified emails that Judge Napolitano has pointed out was the schedule for Ambassador Stevens in the last 2 days of his life. You can understand why, you know, Ambassador Stevens wouldn't have wanted the jihadist to know where he was, when he was, and why that was inexcusable that Hillary Clinton would put that out there and not put it in a secure place.
Do you think intent mattered? I mean, we had been hearing up until the Comey decision that intent didn't matter. So it didn't really matter if she intended to send a classified or receive classified. It mattered that it actually happened. Apparently, Comey says intent mattered in this case.
Well, you know, there's sort of a technical legal detail, but a lot of laws you have to have intent. This particular law, you have to show gross negligence. So you don't have to show intent. You could just be extremely careless.
Wasn't she?
Yeah, that's right.
Wasn't she?
That's exactly what Comey said she was, extremely careless. And so for many of us who aren't lawyers but do believe that words mean something, how is extremely careless different than grossly negligent? So yes, I think she did violate the statute, but more importantly, she showed that her convenience was more important than national security, and that to me is inexcusable and goes to a great deal of her judgments that I think show her not fit to be president.
Well, you know, you say the term is above the law. Is she above the law?
I think often the Clintons appear to be. For example, Bill Clinton made millions of dollars giving speeches that had business before the Secretary of State. So one business wanted to sell electronics to Iran in violation of the sanctions. Bill Clinton got $750,000 from them. At the same time, Hillary Clinton was deciding whether or not she would let them sell things to Iran. Same way with the uranium company. Bill Clinton got I think $750,000 from a bank that was negotiating the purchase of a North American uranium company. Just so happens Hillary Clinton had to vote on that also. So the conflict of interest just goes on, and I think it's indictable. I think she should be in prison for it. But short of that, I think every voter in the country needs to know that the Clintons are in it for themselves. They're in it to make money, and they will make hundreds of millions of dollars if she gets in the White House, because they will sell themselves to the highest bidder. Every voter in America should know that, and they should make a sincere judgment on whether or not you want somebody who's in it for enriching themselves or someone who actually would defend the country.
No doubt. Senator, there's some let's call it this. There's some potential breaking news out there. Julian Assange, who heads WikiLeaks, says there's some emails that pretty much tie Hillary Clinton to knowing about some weapons that may have been going through Libya to some of the ISIS fighters. Let's take a listen to what you asked her back in 2013 Benghazi hearing.
It's been in news reports that ships have been leaving from Libya and that they may have weapons. And what I'd like to know is the annex that was close by, were they involved with procuring, buying, selling, obtaining weapons? And were any of these weapons being transferred to other countries, any countries, Turkey included?
Well, Senator, you'll have to direct that question to the agency that ran the annex. And I will see what information is available. And
you're saying you don't know?
I do not know. I don't have any information on that.
Now, if WikiLeaks, in fact, does have emails proving that she did know, what does that mean to you?
It's a felony to lie to Congress. You can get 5 years in prison. And we can't continue to say that the Clintons are above the law. I do believe that the CIA annex in Benghazi was procuring weapons, some of them to get them away from the jihadists in Libya, but some of it to ferry those weapons through Turkey into Syria. There have been many, many firsthand accounts. New York Times, London Times, Washington Times have all reported upon this. I know for a fact that the current Secretary of State is very aware of what the CIA is doing, and I can't reveal what I've heard from him, but I can tell you that he's aware of what the CIA is doing in Syria, and I find it hard to believe that Hillary Clinton, who all the news reports have said she was the biggest advocate for arming the Islamic rebels in Syria, many of whom turned out to be not only enemies of ours, some of them may have turned out to be ISIS, but some of them also turned out to be enemies of Israel as well.
All right, Senator, we're going to have to leave it there, and we will be waiting to see if WikiLeaks does, in fact, have those emails that tie her to knowledge of what you just, the question you just asked her, where she said had no knowledge. Senator Paul, thank you very much. Up next, Rudy Giuliani will sound off on the new Clinton email revelations and his new gig with the Trump campaign's presidential debate negotiations. Don't miss that. In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, the new problems for Hillary Clinton over her email scandal and what to expect from the presidential debates. Joining us now, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. First, Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us. First, as a former federal prosecutor, what's your reaction to this new round of emails that we found that through FOIA with tying Hillary Clinton to the Clinton Foundation to the State Department?
I say they prove to me quite clearly that the State Department became basically a funding operation for the Clinton Foundation. I mean, the Clinton Foundation was raising the money, and then they were getting special access to the State Department in exchange for the money. Special access meaning getting to see the American ambassador to Lebanon. That cost $1 to $5 million. Getting to get special benefits for UBS. That cost something like $2 million. You can go on and on and on. Basically, here's the way I look at it. The Clinton Foundation is a fraud. 10% goes to charity, 90% goes to who knows what. I would, if I were a federal prosecutor, investigate it as a racketeering enterprise.
Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul was just on. He said she should be indicted, and he also went further and said she probably should be in prison.
Well, she certainly should, I believe, have been indicted. I never predict putting people in prison, but my record was about 95%, I think. And I don't think I ever lost a RICO case. And I'm the first one to actually use RICO, first against the mafia, then against white-collar criminals.
This is RICO?
Yeah.
This is classic RICO, yeah?
This is a classic RICO enterprise. You know what this is? This is the big league version of what the Clintons did in Arkansas, where they used a Rose law firm. You had to hire the Rose law firm. Hillary got paid by the Rose law firm, never showed up for work, and then you got contracts with the state of Arkansas. That was class AAA. This is now major league
pay to play.
Fraud. This is
quid pro quo.
Yeah, if De Blasio has a pay to play system in New York, that's minor league compared to the pay to play system. So basically, Hillary Clinton turned the State Department from a State Department into a pay-to-play operation for the Clintons.
I come from the business world. You know what this is akin to? This is akin to insider trading. Well, if you have access to information or you can buy information that the public can't get. That's an insider trading scheme. This is the same thing, is it not?
Well, this is, first of all, it's a clear violation of the federal law against conflict of interest, which carries 2 years in prison for every count. And I believe it's a racketeering enterprise. I believe the core crime here is bribery. And
is Bill Clinton on the hook for this too?
Why do you think she got rid of 35,000?
He's a player in it, right? He wasn't at the State Department at the time, but he was the carrot that they were dangling.
Yeah, she told us she got rid of the 35,000 emails because they were about yoga. Well, the 35,000 emails were not about yoga. The 35,000 emails were about the connection between the racketeering enterprise, which is called the Clinton Foundation, and the State Department, which was the pay-to-play.
So anyone who was hooked to the Clinton Foundation could be on the hook for
I believe there's enough evidence now to warrant a full and complete racketeering investigation. I believe that the destruction of the emails could be argued as evidence of guilt. That is a typical argument you make in court, by the way, when you prove intent. And I believe this crime is even more substantial than the email crimes they let her off the hook for, which they never should have let her off the hook for.
So Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Uma Abedin, Susan Mills.
You got it.
The other operatives that were
the whole group.
The whole group.
And how does Uma Abedin get to work for the State Department and also for Teneo, a private corporation? I never heard of that.
Yeah, there was someone signed off on that. Someone did sign off on that, but maybe they should be looking into those records as well.
Well, the Justice Department has been turned into a political operation for the Obama administration. So we got a pay-to-play State Department, and we have a political operation in the Justice Department, which, to me, as a 15-year member of the Justice Department, to me, it's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. All right, Mr. Mayor, before we run out of time, the debate negotiations.
Yes.
You're on the committee that's going to talk on the Trump side that says, here's what we want. Mr. Trump will participate in all the debates?
Mr. Trump is anxious to participate in the debates. He believes that he can get his point across a lot better directly to people than being completely distorted by a press that is against him. And by the way, the press is against the American people. They're not delivering the truth to the American people. The real people that are being hurt by the mainstream media are the people of the United States, because they're not getting the truth.
What this business about going up against the NFL, that's not going to become an issue. It's done.
He is going to be there. He's going to be there for the debates. What we're going to negotiate is we're not going to walk into a Candy Crowley situation. After all, we're New Yorkers. We're not suckers.
And that's you're right. That's typical debate negotiations that go on at every level, primary level as well. Yeah, it's a give and take on who can moderate. Is that what it is?
I used to do that. I participated in 11 primary presidential debates, and we negotiated the size of the podium, how much time you get,
moderators,
stuff like that. This time, we're going to negotiate moderators because we're not going to fall into the trap that Romney fell into with Crowley when she announced that Obama was right and Romney was wrong, and it turned out the next day that it was the other way around. We're not going to have some moderator do that to us.
I always said Romney should have had that in his back pocket to know that she was wrong. He could have fought back a little bit harder. Mayor Giuliani, thank you very much. Coming up, a damning report accuses the U.S. Central Command of manipulating intelligence to downplay the ISIS threat. Newt Gingrich will analyze that in just a minute. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Eric Bowling, in for Bill O'Reilly, and in the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, did U.S. Central Command downplay intelligence about ISIS? According to a scathing report from a House GOP task force, intel gathered by Central Command was purposely manipulated, all to paint a more optimistic picture about the U.S. military's progress in the fight against ISIS. Congressman Mike Pompeo, a member of that task force, detailed its findings.
What became very clear was that senior analysts were providing data up to the very top of the intelligence community inside of CENTCOM, and they were changing that data. They were politicizing it, manipulating it, making it look like America was being more successful against ISIS than we really were. And the results of that for our soldiers on the ground are potentially deadly. If we don't understand what's really going on, you can't fight this war properly. They were manipulating intelligence in a way that put our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines at risk.
Joining us now from Washington with reaction, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Mr. Gingrich, Mr. Speaker, Mike Pompeo says that they were politicizing the data. How do they do that?
Well, I mean, to set the stage, remember that you had 50 career analysts, 50, sign a letter saying that they had been pressured to give false information, making ISIS look weaker and less effective than it was. Now, I mean, think about that implication. You have 50 people who are paid professionals who are telling you that the power structure above them wanted only good news, even if it was a lie. I think in part this is the natural result of an administration which has been lying at every level, from you get to keep your doctor, you get to keep your insurance, $400 million in cash is not a ransom payment. Hillary Clinton did not, in fact, lie about Benghazi. I mean, at every level, the Obama administration culture and the Clinton culture has become dishonest. What's frightening is it's now penetrating the career military, and you're beginning to see symptoms of the same corruption, which is very dangerous for our national security and very dangerous for our safety. If we're being lied to by the people who are supposed to be protecting us, then what's the ground truth? How do you base policy on anything real?
You can't. Maybe that's the reason you hear things like President Obama saying, oh, ISIS is the JV team, or they're on the run. I don't know. Maybe he didn't even know. Maybe whoever's forcing these 50 to politicize the data is telling the president, don't worry, it's working, Mr. President.
You know, what you can't tell is how much of this is driven by Clinton and Obama and others putting pressure downward to say, bring me good news, and how much of it is driven by people in the middle, excuse me, who think that they're somehow pleasing the president, that'll improve their career, that they'll get promoted faster.
Yeah, but Speaker, when you downplay the data or politicize the data, you put people in harm's way, because if you make it look like things are working out, as a commander-in-chief, you don't push more assets to help out. You don't push more assets to help people who may be struggling or may need more security in a consulate in Libya.
Look, first of all, as you know, there were 600 requests for increased security in Libya that were neglected or ignored by Hillary Clinton. 600. So there's an example where the people who are saying it's dangerous were being told, oh, you're exaggerating, don't worry about it, until, of course, we had 4 Americans killed, including the ambassador at Benghazi. But it's deeper than that. Remember, ISIS is an organization which ultimately wants to attack the United States. Excuse me. So not only are we putting our troops at risk, we're putting our country at risk. If you're getting false intelligence about North Korea, false intelligence about Pakistan, false intelligence about Iran, how can you possibly have an effective national security policy? This is a very serious problem.
It says it went all the way to the top, and I'm trying to figure out who is or what is the top, Mr. Speaker.
Apparently, and again, this is all based on, as we see with this administration over and over, very slow walking. The Inspector General has been stalled. The analysts who are being brought in actually had their superiors were in the room watching them testify. So you can imagine how intimidating that was. But at a minimum, it goes up to the Major General, who has now been transferred to the Pentagon and given a different job. But if this is really true, if he was instructing people to lie, I don't see how they avoid a court-martial and bring him out in terms of, or get him to resign, because you cannot have a deliberate imposition of dishonesty in a military organization. It sickens the whole organization.
Do you think State Department got involved as well, the Defense and State, with the pressure?
We don't know. I mean, all we know is they felt they were being directly pressured in the Central Command in Tampa, and I have not seen any evidence of beyond that. My personal view is that the State Department is sufficiently deluded on any given day that it doesn't matter. They have their view of the world is so out of touch with reality that they don't have to actually instruct anybody to give them false information.
Mr. Speaker, why now? Why are we hearing about this in 2016 when this was, it's a while ago?
Well, I think what's happened is these 50 professionals filed the letter. waited for something to happen. Nothing happened. They then became whistleblowers. And so you now, and again, it's pretty hard. If it was 1 or 2 or 3 people, I'd say, yeah. I have friends who were in the business who were retired Army who were telling me a year ago that the information was increasingly false and that you were being pressured to say things that were not true. Several of them, in fact, retired because they simply refused to give false information. So it's been going on for a while. My guess is it got worse, and you now have a large enough block. Pretty hard to say. 50 people came together as professionals, and all 50 are telling you a falsehood.
Mr. Speaker, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
When we come right back, a view from the left. Get ready for me to go mano a mano with Geraldo. In the Back of the Book segment tonight, an idea we may come to immediately regret. Letting Geraldo Rivera respond to any part of tonight's show that he wants to. What could possibly go wrong? Joining us now, my pal and eternal sparring partner, Geraldo.
Well, you know I love you, brother.
You too, brother. What turned you on today? You watch the show?
Let me just say that, and I don't mean to start in a contentious tone, but you said that I would be the view from the left or the liberal side. I'm not a liberal, I'm a moderate. And to be to the left of you is very easy since you're to the right of Attila the Hun. But put that all aside. But I say that lovingly, and you know that I'm a big fan of the best-selling author and media phenomenon. But I just want to point out also much more substantively that you had the candidate, Donald Trump, you had Rand Paul, you had Rudy Giuliani, and you had the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. All 4, and yourself, 5, all 5 of you were wrong about Hillary Clinton being indicted over the email scandal. I saw it coming, and the reason I did, and you and Speaker Gingrich and Senator Paul spoke about it, was that these are crimes of intent. You have to intend to violate the securities laws, the intelligence laws,
according to Rudy Giuliani,
General Petraeus
according to Rudy, he says she should have been indicted, and under RICO.
But he was wrong, and I have suggested that the mayor was
federal
wrong.
prosecutor
And
who put bad guys away.
Jim Comey at the FBI said he was wrong. Why don't Republicans just swallow their pride and say, okay, we were wrong about that. Now let's move on to something where there is a probative value in terms of like the Clinton Foundation. That to me is fertile territory for exploration, because even though the Clinton Foundation has been getting decent, quote unquote, ratings from the various agencies.
Terrible ratings.
No, they get decent,
terrible ratings.
They get generally.
They can't even figure out if it's a foundation or not.
I understand that the critics of the Clintons say that, but I'm talking about the actual agencies that review charities, give them decent ratings.
It's called Charity Navigator. You can look. They're having a hard time figuring out what the money going here. This
I think that is exactly what I'm saying. Let's probe that. There is real substance there. Quid pro quo.
Senator Rand Paul says
that's very interesting and valid.
Senator Rand Paul said if Julian Assange releases the emails that he says he has that tie Hillary Clinton to knowledge of weapons and arms going to ISIS, she should go to jail.
Going to ISIS? What about the arms going to Turkey? I believe.
Well, she denied knowing that, too.
I believe in my heart of heart.
She denied knowing that, too.
I believe in my heart of heart. What was that large CIA annex in Benghazi doing? I believe they were collecting sophisticated armament with the idea that they would then be transferring it to some ally of us in the Middle East. I think that is also a valid issue to probe.
She denied that, too, and his point was lying to Congress is a felony.
She didn't lie to Congress, though. Eric, we have been over that and done with that.
Well,
why don't you argue on the merits? Why don't you probe something that is important?
We have tape of her saying, I have no knowledge of that, and according to Assange, it's not out yet, I get that. There is knowledge of that.
Well, let him put up or shut up.
Then we'll come back and talk about that.
It is like,
if that's true, you come back and we'll do this again.
Yes. Was her email hacked or not? There's no evidence her email was hacked.
Got to go. Geraldo,
and co-founding ISIS
wasn't that bad. Geraldo, thank you very much. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly, and please remember, the spin stops here because we're looking out for you.